Hey listeners, before we get into today's podcast, I want to thank today's sponsor, HelloFresh. Do you feel like you're stuck in a dinner rut? With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less with over 25 recipes to choose from each week. There's something for everyone to enjoy. All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure delicious and simplicity. And I was just over there on their website checking out what they have to offer. And I'm telling you, it's making me super hungry. We have a prosciutto wrapped chicken, which I'm such a sucker for prosciutto. Chicken over garlic parm, which looks delicious. And even a beef tenderloin and brown butter veggies. There's a lot to choose from over there. It looks fantastic. And today they're offering our listeners a discount. You can go to the link in our show notes to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am Andy, your host, and I am joined today by, let's see, what job am I going to give him today? He is the chief bottle washer, Fish.
Wait, we have bottles?
Yeah.
When do we have bottles?
They need to be washed.
Oh, God. Guys, I'll be back later. Goodbye. Excuse me. I have things to go do.
I'll edit in some washing noise. And Hanna, co-host and resident expert in comparison to the rest of us.
Non-meteorologist.
Non-meteorologist, non-tap dancer. Go back to last episode and listen to
They'll
that.
have I assume that will have no context for this.
Yeah. Also, she's not a fire juggler.
No.
Out of the three, I think that's the one that
I had to kind of like look and be like, I'm not sure how she's going to answer that.
No, I'm actually very bad at regular juggling, too.
Then you should not take a fire juggling.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be good at juggling. Yeah, but I feel like you need to be good at juggling first.
Yeah. I can't do it. I don't have the hand-eye coordination for it.
But today's episode is not about hand-eye coordination.
No.
Or fire juggling.
Or fire juggling. All right.
Wait.
Right?
Yeah.
No. It's not.
Okay. So, Hanna, what are we talking about today?
Fish, do you remember?
Okay, so it's less of a remember and more of a...
You read over her shoulder?
No, I went back in our group chat like the other night because I couldn't remember
that's
what we were
cheating.
doing. It's research.
It's cheating.
Yes. So, is it Johnny Appleseed?
It is Johnny Appleseed.
Oh, I do remember that conversation now.
It's Johnny Appleseed.
Sweet.
Or as the government would call him, John Chapman.
Probably his mom, too.
Pretty much everyone called him that.
I think his mom would call him Sweetie.
Johnny, Jay.
I don't know. Sweetie's a weird...
Sweetie?
Yeah, he said Sweetie.
Kid?
No, I know. I'm just thinking, yeah.
I didn't call my kid Sweetie. I had...
You call one of your kids... You actually call one of your kids Sweet Pea.
Yeah, Sweet Pea.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Not Sweetie.
That's so
I called the other
much
one Monkey.
worse.
I had a hamster named Sweet Pea.
Did you?
He lived for 5 years.
I'm proud to say my daughter has lived more than 5 years.
Yes.
But she used to like to be swaddled, and she looked like a little pea pod.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. He was born. He was born September 26, 1774.
That was a little while ago.
It was a while back. And he was born in Leominster, Massachusetts, which is why we're talking about him, because if he was born somewhere else...
He wouldn't be important to us.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of you people born somewhere else, we don't care.
He was born to his parents, Elizabeth
He was born to his parents?
and Nathaniel.
Elizabeth and Nathaniel?
And Nathaniel.
Okay.
Yes. Elizabeth and Nathaniel Appleseed.
Chapman.
You
And
say it your way, I'll say it my way.
okay, tomato, Appleseed. Nathaniel was a Minuteman. He served at the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then he would later serve in the Continental Army under General George Washington.
Wow.
And I believe he went up in ranks a little bit until he eventually retired. His mom, Elizabeth, died from tuberculosis a few years after giving birth to John's younger brother. And his dad would...
His youngest brother's name was...
I don't know. He ended up having a lot of siblings.
Oh, okay.
His dad got remarried.
Oh, okay.
And they would have 10 more kids together.
Holy cow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So, like, everything got... I thought this brother's name was Nathaniel, and then I found out he...
And you found out that his father doesn't even know if you have 11 kids. You don't know what their names are.
It sounded like he had another brother named Nathaniel, so I was a little confused.
That's when they're all become sweetie.
Yeah, so I thought that might have been the case.
Like, if Nathaniel the elder died young, then, like, the next kid takes the name up.
Well, it's also to just have 11 kids.
Just double up on names that you like. Why not?
He's going to increase your odds of being right.
Yeah.
There are really so many names.
Johnny, Nathaniel, you.
Yeah.
You, sweetie.
He decided at the age of 18 that he was going to step out on his own and make a living and career for himself. And he decided to take his 11-year-old half-brother Nathaniel with him.
Okay.
For fun.
Sure.
Why not?
Like you do.
Nate Appleseed.
When you always go to make your way in the world as an 18-year-old, you know what you need?
Yeah.
11-year-old sidekick. He's like Batman and Robin.
So why was he going out into the frontier? This is 1770.
This is a hypothetical, rhetorical question. Do you want me to try to answer this?
Well, if he's 18,
1970,
92.
Yeah. So
he's hang on. He's traveling west to get gold.
Westward.
Oh.
Just for settling.
To go west.
Settling.
All right.
Nothing's been settled really yet. It's like right at the
So he's
expansion.
going for land.
Yeah, I assume like Ohio would.
Yep.
To kind of kick all the Native Americans out because at the time they didn't they weren't
what they
viewed as
did.
people.
Yeah.
So it's like we'll settle this land that people have been living in for thousands of years, but it's ours now.
So that was definitely a big part of it. He was going specifically because at that time, there was a need for
speed.
Yeah. Feel the need. The need for speed. Okay. There was a need for people to tend to nurseries.
Oh, okay.
Apple.
I assume you mean like trees, not like
Exactly.
children.
Wouldn't there be orchards?
Nurseries are slightly different.
Okay.
Like baby trees.
Baby trees, yes.
And I know the term isn't baby trees, but
Saplings.
I know what I like. I like baby trees.
Baby trees, cute. So yeah, baby trees.
Yeah.
And he just so happened to like find a knack for that. Like he was really good at doing that. So tending to them, planting them. So he somehow found a way to be ahead of the game, and he would go and clear land and plant nurseries before people settled the land. And then once people moved in, he'd be like, hey, I'll sell you my trees.
That are already on your property?
That like, hey, you're moving in, those are my trees. Or
you're moving in and it's like, hey, wouldn't you like an apple tree in your yard because you can get some fresh apples? Like,
look at my
now.
baby tree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as opposed to like having to show up and then wait like 4 years and get your tree apples so much faster.
So
he's a businessman.
Yeah, he was a businessman. So he would do all that. Like he would just go out, clear the land, plant the trees, seeds, whatever, and then take care of the nursery.
Now,
until
Hannah, what kind of trees were these?
They were apple trees. Didn't we just say that?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I was just being me.
I'm like, come on, keep up. But why apple trees? So I know Fish just mentioned, like, don't you want an apple tree in case you ever want an apple?
Because it's as American as apple pie.
And apple cider.
Cider. So specifically hard cider.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
So,
and for all your hard cider needs, you can stop by the craft beer cellar at 31 Main Street, where we're recording right now.
So hard cider was was actually a form of currency then. So fresh drinking water was hard to come by. Most people needed like they would literally make cider for them to drink
Instead
at
of water.
home. Yeah.
Well, it's the same way as like medieval times they would make
Yeah,
beer.
Beer.
because the water was not palatable.
Yeah, because part of the cidering process is you boil the water.
Yeah.
So these apples were called cider apples or spitters,
Okay.
and they were not a dessert apple.
So it's not an apple you would think of going to the grocery store and buying an apple.
It's not an eating apple.
It
it's
wouldn't be great if you went up and picked one and ate one. It would be very sour and bitter. So, yeah. And it
Is
was,
that the same thing as a crab apple? Or is that different?
no, crab apple was its own type of thing. But these apples would become what we know the apples to be today.
Through, genetic engineering.
Yep,
'Cause that's what
exactly.
we do.
Well, apple farmers and orchard caretakers do something a little different than GMO stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, because generally you can't really grow an apple tree from a seed very well.
Yes.
Like the seed, if
Wait, you
plant-
probably do it from what? Like a clipping?
you graft it.
You graft
Yeah,
it.
graft it. Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
That's still
basically-
modifying it genetically. I mean,
Yeah,
kinda.
true.
Yeah, but
You know.
basically, you can't plant, like, you can't take your apple from the grocery store, take the seeds, plant in your yard, and then grow those apples.
Yeah.
Because the apples that come out of that are much worse.
Yeah.
That's what some
Yeah.
people think. Johnny was not one of those people. So he,
Yeah, they didn't call him Johnny Applegraft.
so he,
Also, didn't go to Stop and Shop ever in his life.
We don't know that.
I do know that.
yeah,
He
he,
might haunt a Stop and Shop to this day.
he first,
That would not be his life. That'd be his afterlife. Mic drop.
he
Please
went,
don't, they're expensive.
okay, so in Pennsylvania,
It was like, shut up.
in Pennsylvania, 1798, he planted his first trees. Now, mind you, he traveled from Massachusetts, and he just pretty much walked. He would collect the seeds and keep them for planting. He would go to old cider mills and grab them from there. And that was in 1798. And that same year, he also left his brother somewhere with friends by the Potomac
Somewhere
River.
as in, like, he doesn't know where or you just don't know where.
It's not recorded where.
Okay. It's just like he left his
Like-
brother somewhere.
He left with his 11-and-a-half-year-old brother, and at some point,
He
Someone's like,
dropped
where's your
him
brother?
off.
And he went, oh,
Yeah.
right.
Because, mind you, he still was pretty young.
Yeah.
He was probably like,
I mean, at this point, the kid's probably like 15.
Crap. who? Johnny Appleseed?
No,
Oh, his
Nathaniel
brother.
Appleseed.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Appleseed.
Nate Paraseed, the lesser known brother.
So companies were paying people to move out west.
Yep.
And he was taking advantage of that and like growing his business from that. And he did a really great job. He, like I said, was ahead of the game as far as clearing land, building nurseries. He built nurseries a different way from other people, using the natural resources around him as fencing, leaving underbrush to make sure that like it just kept everything safe. Like he realized the more natural you keep the landscape, the better off you'll be.
Yep.
Creating fences using bushes and logs that were already down to keep livestock away from eating the plants or whatever wild animals
So, like,
possibly
more
could.
hedges than
Yeah.
fences?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And-
he was like the first like farm to table organic green farmer.
I mean, he probably did have a big beard.
Yeah, he was a natural guy.
Yeah.
He was pretty crunchy.
Yeah.
He
He's like, I was into apples before you guys.
Right, so now this is a cider hipster.
yeah.
This is my artisanal cider.
After he was done setting up a nursery, he would move along to the next plot and set up another nursery. And when he had things established, he would go back to nurseries that he had already made. Like I said, he would sell them or lease the land to people.
Sure.
So he found ways to make money off this pretty well and did this for a very long time. And he was good at it. Like, so he was known and trusted as far as all things Apple nursery things related.
He was like I know an Apple guy. He's the guy you know about apples.
yeah,
He was like the apple of everyone's eye.
sure, yeah. And he was known to like sell his nurseries on credit to people, which is part of his. So what's like the Johnny Appleseed, is like he was so generous.
So
you remember that?
Like the
from
whole
tale?
time I'm like thinking about this is like what in my head, grew up in the 70s and 80s, like in my head, like what do I envision Johnny Appleseed as? And this is what's like in my head.
Okay.
He wore overalls,
Okay, sure. Yeah.
no shoes, don't know why.
Yeah. Okay.
A pot on his head? Is that a thing?
You know what? Yeah, I'm there with you.
Okay. And across the country planting apple seeds. That is the extent of my knowledge of Johnny Appleseed.
I'm going to go a little out of order of my notes since
'Cause I jump ahead.
Because
That's
we're
what I
on the topic, but it's really not jumping
Wait,
ahead.
Okay.
We're on the topic of him being a pothead?
Ba-dum-bum.
His dress. We have to talk about the way he looked and what we know.
No shoes.
No shoes. He did not.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No shoes.
I was in my
Actually,
head. I'm like, that can't
They
be
Wait,
say-
the 70s and 80s taught us one right thing.
actually
That's one.
they say that his feet were so thick from calluses that you could shove a needle right in it and he wouldn't feel a thing.
I've done that.
And
Shove the needle in Johnny Appleseed's foot.
No, back in my band days, my thumb would have a callus. I could just stab and wouldn't feel anything.
cool.
Cool story, bro.
So he did not wear a pot on his head, but it was a tin like bowl that he would use to eat out of.
And he'd wear it on his head.
Yeah, to keep it with
I
him.
can't believe this is right.
No, I love that
Because this is like some weird like Disney Warner Brothers cartoon that I watched at some point in my life that has like
that
somehow
I've probably also seen because
Yeah.
I've got the same image. And I
it was,
love
it was blue overalls and a red shirt.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that the reason you're wrong about the pot in his head is the handle. It's not a pot, it's a bowl.
It's a bowl.
yeah, it
So
was
there's no-
lighter
But
to
I feel
hold
like
on
in the
head.
cartoon it was a pot.
It was definitely a pot.
Yeah. It was, and that's the image that was. And you guys are describing like the exact image of Johnny Appleseed that has been created. But he
I'm googling this right
he
now.
wore, for the most part, he had like pretty loose old clothes. He was not one to buy like the newest stuff. In fact,
Because he's like, I reduce, reuse, and recycle.
yeah. But he
He's
also
very like environmental.
he was
Shot
also
from whatever the 18th century
Savers?
19th, I was thinking Goodwill, but yeah.
He really didn't shop. In fact, he was actually very giving and charitable. So most of the time he just wore an onion sack.
Okay.
I feel like that would.
I have something that I want to say, but I feel like I'm jumping ahead because I just googled something.
What? Don't, you know what? I don't know what
I'm not even. No.
You know
Go
what?
on.
When we get there, you'll know. You'll know the
When we
time,
get
Andy.
there, I'll be like, that's what I was. gonna
Okay,
say.
maybe.
And if not, I'll bring it up again.
Okay.
I can't imagine the smell of rock walking around smelling like
Onion
old
sacks.
onions.
Or potato, just a sack, like
What? No,
the burlap
So
sack.
he wore a sack.
He wore a burlap
Like,
sack.
I think
So where'd the overalls come from?
He wore real clothes at one point in his life, but we need to talk about different
How
things
are you
first.
like a businessman and being like showing up for like meetings in a sack?
I will tell you.
You show up.
Dude, tell me.
Thank you, Hannah. That's actually what we're looking for.
Please,
oh,
please let
this
me
is it.
tell you.
That's it. That's the image that I.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But in my head, it was a little different. He was wearing overalls. He's not wearing overalls in this. But yeah. Okay. Go on.
So we need to get to a couple other things first. The natives considered him to be touched by the spirit and generally left him alone because you need to remember that he was going out by himself
Right.
into this land and
But
doing.
was it because he was very much like, oh, let's keep the land the way it is, and
Yeah,
use the
yeah, 'cause he
shrubs
worked with the land and, like,
I think
not
it was
just-
a little bit of that and a little bit of okay, this guy's nuts.
this guy's touched.
This guy is walking out into
This
the
guy's
woods.
touched. Period.
This guy is walking out into the woods with no shoes and a sack on.
so
And a bowl on his head. Don't make it weird.
So they for the most part left him alone. It's said that most natives got along with him for the most part, but just left him alone, and not that everyone liked him or liked that what he was doing because they were being displaced. So why would they?
Right.
But for the
But he
most
was
part,
being displaced by him.
no, by him.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Like he's the guy who showed up, cleared a bunch of land and planted apple trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm assuming if he cleared the land, it wasn't of people. It was probably of, like trees and stuff.
Andy.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
always of people.
Yes.
You're right. You're
Yes,
right. You're
it-
right.
The one-
Sorry, I'm looking at the Disney picture.
Yeah.
And
One
he did not.
thing-
The Disney picture did not displace anybody.
Yes.
He's very happy.
Yes, the one thing that you learn is that even if it wasn't like cleared for use by white people people live there and use the
Yeah,
land.
I understand what you're saying.
I know, but
I'm
making
looking
a
at the
point.
Disney picture, and Disney's
Andy.
not racist. Song of the South didn't happen. Go on, Hannah.
Andy, Andy, this podcast is not for you. This podcast is for my listeners.
But
your listeners. Okay.
kidding.
Anyways, Hannah,
know-
go on.
you know what, you know what?
That was the most
No.
ridiculous part of this entire
I
conversation.
know. Let's be honest. Even my mom likes Hannah more.
all right, let's keep going. So, for the most part, they left him alone because, touched by the spirit, they appreciated his respect for nature.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they looked at him there and they were like, he didn't come through and like barrel down all the trees. He wanted to preserve it
Right.
and make it as close to its natural state as possible, knowing that it was
apples.
better for the trees. So the reason why he wore what he wore and he looked like he looked, because you're like, how can a good businessman show up to a meeting like this?
Oh, is this like a Boris Johnson thing?
I
Where
don't-
like he looked silly because people would take him less serious, so he could kind of like
Not
use
at
that.
all.
Oh, okay.
He was my brain's all tired now. He was a missionary. He was part of a church,
Oh, okay.
and he was a very pious man.
Oh, so it's like about poverty kind of thing.
no.
Wait, no, because he's a businessman. I'm confused.
It's just that he didn't have a need for. If he didn't have a need for it, he wasn't going to use it. So he didn't live beyond what he really needed. That included his shoes. Like he didn't need shoes, so he didn't. He
Didn't wear 'em.
gave his shoes up to a family who needed them.
Okay.
Part of the reason he was so charitable is because of his faith. He was part of the Church of New Jerusalem, and it was also a following of Swedenborgian,
Okay.
and it's a Christian-based faith, but it was led by the writings of scientist Emanuel Swedenborg. And Johnny Appleseed's interpretation, John Chapman's interpretation of it, you don't hurt living creatures, you don't put yourself before nature, you live simply, and you put faith first.
Kind of explains a lot of what he's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
okay.
once you know that about
makes a
him,
lot more sense now. Yeah.
yes. So that extreme image you have of him with the tin hat and no shoes is actually
faith based, not money based.
Yeah.
Because in my head, it was always like, oh, he just was poor.
No, he was actually.
He was loaded.
Yeah.
Just he never kept any of it, which is a really weird thing to be like, never have more than you need, but yet constantly keep expanding your business.
He actually, but in his most successful time, he owned over 1,000 acres of nurseries
Wow.
and trees, and some of them. One of them had I think it was 15,000 trees or something like that. So he owned a lot at the time of his death, and the way he worked his business and stuff, it was really just revolved around continuing to come back, help the nurseries,
So he
trees,
would
and people.
basically raise money through his business than to benefit others.
It wasn't really benefiting others. He was putting it back into his business.
Oh, okay. But, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a weird kind of.
Yeah, it's like this
he's
weird,
all about
oh,
living within your means, and
He owned a lot. He just owned a lot
but
of
he
land
kept
for the
getting
time
more
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just not
This
stuff.
is,
He
this is very weird. This is
it's a very much. There's a very.
I feel like there needs to be a Johnny
There's a-
Appleseed behind the music.
So he
episode.
never lived anywhere. He just continued to travel
Yeah.
for work. He never actually brought camping supplies. He just slept on the ground. In fact, there was one story that said he lit a fire while he was camping with someone in. I mean, he had supplies, he had to eat
Right,
and
yeah.
stuff, and he had an ox, and I'm sure at some other points in his life he had other things that helped him. But
At one point, an 11-and-a-half-year-old.
yeah, exactly.
that he misplaced.
Yeah, and
Oh,
he,
yeah.
Ohio? No.
I don't know.
Pennsylvania.
No.
so he was also a vegetarian, which was crazy for the time.
Yeah.
And he was looked at as kind of extreme and eccentric for a lot of the things he did.
Yeah.
But that was part of the putting animals first. And sorry, I totally stopped in the middle of that story I was just about to tell you because You guys
Because we
sidebar.
interrupted.
So he lit a fire.
Yep.
And whoever he was with, the mosquitoes were going into the fire. So he put it out and he said, like, I don't want to see animals or creatures, God's creatures, suffer for my comfort. So he put the fire out.
For mosquitoes?
For
Which
mosquitoes.
is literally the last time anyone has not wanted mosquitoes to all just die.
Yeah. So he also never married, nor was he interested in it, because in his faith, he believed there was like no woman as faithful to the same thing he was.
Okay.
And no woman
Which I would probably agree with because
and no woman pure enough for him.
Oh, well, I don't care. That's a little misogynist.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said he would find a good wife in heaven because no woman on earth was
Oh, good luck, buddy.
pure enough for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
He also
I was like, it's kind of not bad. Oh, there it is.
This
There it is. There's the
Man,
bad part.
Way to go right down.
no, it gets worse.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Here we go.
So at one point, it said he arranged for a 7-year-old girl to marry him when she became of age because he figured she's in her purest form now, so it won't go downhill if I
And
arrange
he
for this
was
now.
How old?
I don't know, an adult.
Not
Old
7.
enough to do that? Yeah.
Old enough
that's
to try.
Okay.
But he quickly declined that arrangement because he said he saw her flirting.
He saw the 7-year-old flirting.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right.
So anyway,
I don't know how. Everything I want to say right now.
I
is
love
something that would get
history
bleeped.
and hate it at the
so
same time.
he just was a very like thoughtful for animals, and obviously,
Obviously
one of
not
the
for women.
no, but one of the few of that time that like even cared about the treatment of animals.
Yeah.
So he would take on sick animals, mistreated animals, heal them, help them, give them a better life. There's stories of him like saving a wolf and healing its leg, and the wolf followed him around for like the rest of the wolf's life, and a couple other things.
I feel like that's part of the Disney
like
show.
folklore-y type stuff like that. And like I said, he was known for his generosity as far as why he didn't have shoes and lending to people. And the story about him carrying around a coffee bag of seeds is real. Like he would save the seeds because in his vision of his faith, he could not graft a tree because he felt that was harming the tree. So he was one of the few people that started
These
with seeds.
seeds. Okay.
Oh God! So many mediocre apples.
I'm just that's your takeaway?
No, so in this,
Oh my god, it's going to get worse.
no, it gets better
Oh,
because
okay, cuz
because of
Because
his.
at this point,
All right.
I mean, please improve our child bride, please.
No, I mean it won't ever. But so creating these trees and planting them from saplings actually helped the apple trees of the United States acclimate because he wasn't taking a tree he's like creating the same exact tree
So,
from grafting.
and this is the problem with
Yeah.
Genetically modified food, which we all eat. I don't care if you don't think you do. You do. So our entire banana crop is
Yeah.
suspect because it's one plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything happens, we're boned. There's
Yep.
no more bananas.
And
same
it's-
thing with rubber.
Yeah.
And so when
It's not even the original banana.
we're yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But so if he did that with if he grew apples from seeds, there's going to be biodiversity, and there'd be more
You'll resist disease.
golden
and-
apples and Macintoshes, and shoot some more ice into the into the microphone, Hannah. Crunch, crunch, crunch,
My mouth is
crunch.
so cold. Oh my god.
Quick, I need to talk more. How can I numb my mouth?
Hold on. Okay. So yes, to all of that, I'm so sorry.
I know things. I know I don't seem like I do.
I know. I wasn't doubting
Fish's
you.
mom.
But it also helped the plants adapt to the weather of the area they were being planted, adapt to the soils, like just created stronger apple trees from that. It also created the Golden Delicious, or believed to create the Golden Delicious apple.
And apple picking season.
Fair.
He,
Does anyone actually like Golden Delicious apples?
yeah, I have some at home. Yeah,
Isn't that one used for the apple pie? Isn't that?
you can use a bunch of the
Any
apple
kind of
pie,
apple
but
pie.
yeah, I literally bought Golden Delicious.
Just not a fan of the.
I like
Golden-
Granny Smith myself. I like
Granny
that
Smith?
tart green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Granny Smith is my apple of choice. I've also enjoyed a good Honey Crisp every once in a while.
I feel like we're.
Honey Crisp is good. Pink Lady.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've had one of those.
Oh, so good.
Gala, Fuji,
Gala, Fuji.
Fuji, yeah,
classic.
Fuji, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Macintosh always feel a little soft to me.
I don't like Red Delicious.
Red Delicious are like.
They're the waxiest things I've ever eaten.
I'll agree with that. Red Delicious are like. Red Delicious are junior
Misnamed.
high apples.
Yeah.
Where
Red
you're like,
Delicious
"Oof."
are misnamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. All right.
I mean,
so
they're red, but you got halfway there, kids.
we talked a lot about what he did, his travels, how he traveled. He would end up going
Child bride.
as far as which he didn't end up marrying, and she was going to
That
be.
makes it okay.
And she was going to be of age.
yeah.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just trying to.
Don't defend him, Hannah.
11-year engagement to a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long.
It's probably more like.
Okay, fine. 5-year engagement.
Yeah,
to
there
a
you
7-year-old.
go.
I don't
That's
actually
probably-
know what a legal age was in the 18th century.
I don't think
'cause-
he had any amount of years of it. I think like he's like, hey, let's
I know, but
let's try this, and then it was like a month later, he was like, no, she's awful. I'm like, yeah, she's 7.
Thank God.
It took him a month to realize, hey, I shouldn't marry a 7-year-old.
But not for the reason that
And
you
not
want
for
it
the,
to be.
not for the reason of she's 7.
I don't even know if it was a month. It could have been days, but either way, yeah, it wasn't a good idea, and it wasn't.
It was an idea he had in the first place.
Yeah, it was
That's the
not
problem.
not good. Either way, he traveled out as far as Illinois
Okay.
and some in West Virginia, and so the story of him, the I want like the concept of him, like he was well
The
known.
mythos.
Yeah.
Yeah, even no, the actual person, like he was a well known person, which is why he is what he is today.
Yeah.
The date of his death is kind of argued, but I believe it was 1848, March 18th, 1845, which is what's
How does that
widely
make
known.
him?
From 74 to 45, so 71.
Yeah, he was 71.
That's
yeah.
pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And he died in his sleep
It's not bad by today's standards.
at a friend's house after he like ate some bread and read the Bible, and he had pneumonia. So he just died in his sleep from pneumonia on the floor at his friend's house.
On the 4th?
He was just decided
floor.
to sleep
Oh,
on the floor.
I thought you said the 4th.
Oh, on
I
the
was going to
floor.
say of what month?
March 18th. Sorry.
Oh, March 18th. The 4th of March 18th. Got it.
So he left everything to one of his sisters. He had 1,200 acres and a bunch of nurseries, like I talked about earlier.
So he's pretty well off.
Yeah, he
Wait
was
a second.
doing
He
fine.
had like 11 siblings, and he left everything to one of them.
One sister.
That's rough.
I think
Well,
it
he
was
lost
probably,
one of them.
I know. Like, no offense. If I'm,
Yeah, who else was
Passing.
alive?
I don't know. But at the same time, like, no offense. If I'm the sibling that got dragged along and then abandoned. In
First of
Philadelphia-
all, if you have 11 brothers and sisters, you probably only know 2 of them.
yeah, and he did not choose the one he took
Yeah,
with
well.
him.
No one
How-
liked that dude. Nathaniel Paraseed. No one liked him.
So he has some. There's also a debate on where he was actually buried. Some people say that he's buried not too far off his friend's property in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And there's close relatives of his friends whose house he died at, like descendants of him, who say, no, we have writings from who his friend was
Yeah.
that say he's buried at the Archer Cemetery. Being a man of faith, they said that he wanted to be buried respectfully.
Sure.
Consecrated
Yeah.
ground.
Exactly.
Makes
So
sense.
so they said no, he's buried in Archer Cemetery,
Yeah.
whatever kind of marking they had at the time, and if it's even standing now. And then some people say no, it's definitely
Just a stick in a.
it's definitely this area that is marked in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
Either way, lots of things happened with his estate afterwards. There was the panic of 1837 where most of his estate was sold off by whoever was handling it at the time. Sold some of it, some acres sold for literal pennies. some mishandling of deeds in several towns that lost him his property as well. Not much left of it at the moment. In fact, I don't think anything is actually registered as the...
You don't think there are any, like, Chapman orchards?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That'd be a really good name for
How is there not a Chapman
cider.
apple?
I don't know.
Oh, cider. Oh, we'll talk to Jeremy.
Yeah.
So there is a pretty old tree that they say is from his original
Sowing of
whatever,
seeds or whatever. Yeah.
That is in Nova, Ohio. And they say it's like the last one he planted.
Oh.
So
The last one that he planted or the last one standing that he planted?
last one standing that he planted.
Okay.
And there's a lot to be said of Johnny Appleseed, John Chapman, that we know of today. You've obviously looked up the image of him that
Disney
we all
one.
know.
Yeah.
But from him, there's a big legacy that is talked about. There's several festivals that happen in different areas that he made impact.
Mm-hmm.
There's parks named after him. There's a baseball team named
Appleseeds?
a minor league. No, the Tin Caps.
Okay.
Creative.
Yeah, I like it.
There's streets, schools, fields, statues, and a museum and a Johnny Appleseed Day.
I know. That's what I was going to bring up
Yeah.
earlier. And this is the interesting part, Fish.
I'm listening.
When would you
Andy.
say Johnny Appleseed Day is?
His birthday,
It is his birthday.
which is coming up because it's September.
I know. It's
26th.
September 26th. So this is like kind of topical.
That's why I did this
Weirdly.
episode
Yeah.
in the order that I did it.
Did you really?
Yeah, seriously.
All right.
She's really good at this,
I
Andy.
know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, and they have a museum too.
Gold star, Hannah.
Thank you. And I think, like yourself, the image I have of Johnny Appleseed is just like a do-gooder spreading seeds everywhere over America. My teacher said he's the reason we have apple trees today.
Yeah, I feel like he was like
He was credited with a lot of...
the image that I had of him was that he was not bright.
No.
Like he was a
But
very
that's
simple guy.
simple,
just
like
wandering around.
hook, let me plant apples.
Yeah, he
just
kind of
walking
seemed
around.
like a prude who was really good at what he did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he was an apple savant.
yeah. And he was eccentric. People definitely looked at him like he was eccentric.
Oh, he was a weirdo.
He
I
was
mean-
not like anyone else in that time.
There's no fanboys for I want to be Johnny Appleseed when I grow up.
I think today there are definitely like
Yeah, I mean-
transients that like probably would want to,
Yeah,
and they don't realize that it's so similar.
Yeah,
There were transients who realized, wait a sec, he had how much money at the end?
yeah.
His money was more in land. You know what I mean?
But it's still-
but
it's
that's
still-
something. I'm sorry, he owned
still
how
worth,
much land?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that's a lot. He had a lot of.
That's the
He
equivalent.
died. He passed away a very wealthy man, despite the fact that he passed away in like a burlap sack, barefoot.
That's like one of those
Mm-hmm.
stories you hear about, like the guy that hangs out on the beach all the time. And you're like, oh, this poor like homeless guy, and then
No,
he
he's
dies.
worth
And he's like $73
$73
million.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew a lot about him already. Like I knew that he was I already knew that he was a missionary. Like he did a lot of missionary work himself too, trying
Yeah.
to like get people to go along with his deal, leading, services and whatever type of service he would run. It was outdoor services. And he was an outdoorsman. Like he was a respected outdoorsman. He had his run of wildlife interactions. He went and slept and lived in places that people would be scared to because he just wasn't scared of the natural environment.
Yeah.
He was definitely one with it. So,
It's very cool.
and I think the big outlier of the Johnny Appleseed story is that you don't realize, oh, this is when we were going into the West, the left out part of how this pushed out natives.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's
all
one
that
of those
stuff.
like, oh, this is a wholesome story. No, it's not.
Yeah. The underlying like
I displaced native people and wanted to marry a 7-year-old.
there's a lot to this.
I mean,
it's a layered story.
Yeah.
But there was also stuff that I didn't know. I didn't realize how dedicated he was to his faith, that the reason he was like that was because of his faith. Like, I knew that he was a religious guy, but I didn't realize that his lifestyle was
kind
because of that.
At the time, an environmentalist.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think he actually created the phrase, leave it like you found it. No, I'm joking.
I'm like, leave it like you tell a dog, leave it.
Leave it, isn't it? Like, leave
Drop
it like you found it.
Yeah.
Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah. He invented the phrase "take only pictures."
Yeah.
Leave only memories.
He also invented the phrase #Apple Life.
Yeah. So, I mean, he is credited with doing a lot for Apple's. He worked a way that was so different for the time and
He created the iPad.
was very successful. The Macintosh.
Apple.
I gotcha.
All right.
And I really don't have a whole lot else to say about him, but I thought he was an interesting guy.
I think that's Like,
there's a lot.
We
more
went on a journey.
Yes.
You know?
There was a lot more there than I knew about.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, it's wholesome. Oh God, it's not. Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh wait, now we're coming back a little bit.
And now he's dead.
Yeah,
And now he's dead.
that was a journey.
It was.
Thank you, Hannah.
You're welcome.
That's the part where we stop talking.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.